Good evening, everyone. I call the Marlington Local School District Board of Education regular meeting to order on November 19th, 2020 at 7:00 p.m. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States
of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty
and justice
for all. The reading of the mission statement is by Mrs. Danielle Stevens.
In collaboration with staff, community, parents, and students, the Marlington Local School District will develop lifelong learners who understand and apply knowledge and demonstrate excellence in pursuing the highest standards with effective intervention to challenge every student.
Thank you. This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. Dr. Main, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Gabrick,
Here.
Mr. Hagan,
Here.
Mrs. Humphreys,
Here.
Dr. Mason,
Here.
Ms. Stevens,
Here,
Adoption of the meeting agenda. Are there any additions or corrections?
I have additions. It would be under old business. If we could add a letter C for public speaks discussion. We talked about that at the last meeting and we're going to have a discussion about it and must have been forgotten. And under new business, Patty, do you have this or should I slow down?
nope, I got it.
Okay. And under new business, it would be letter F, an amendment to the McGowan and Markling engagement letter. And letter G would be that section we've been putting in Marlington in motion, opportunities for improvement, comments moving forward. I didn't see that on the agenda either.
Is there a motion to approve the meeting agenda of the Marlington Local Board of Education for the November 19th, 2020 meeting as presented and with the following additions? Old business C will include discussion on public speaks. New business F. Did you call that an amendment? Is that what you said, Karen?
Yes.
Amendment to McGowan Markling contract. And G, Marlington in motion comments.
I so move.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
If I could I just add an announcement at the very end of the meeting, please? Just for those watching, thank you. Just a quick announcement.
So, the motion, is there a motion to amend the additions and corrections to include the superintendent's announcement at the end of the meeting?
I so move.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the amendment? The amendment being adding the announcement at the end of the meeting. Patty, please call the roll on the amendment of adding the announcement.
Mrs. Gabrick,
Yes.
Mr. Egan,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphries,
Yes.
Dr. Mason,
Yes.
Mrs. Stevens,
Yes.
approved 5-0.
So the motion on the floor is to approve the agenda as presented with the old business for public speaks, amendment under new business, amendment to the McGowan-Markland contract, Marlington in motion comments, and then amended for the announcement at the end of the meeting. Is there any discussion on that motion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Gabrick,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan.
Yeah.
Mrs. Humphries.
Yes.
Dr. Mason,
Yes.
Mrs. Stevens,
Yes.
approved 5-0.
Public participation, Dr. Main, did you receive any documentation or documents for public participation speaks for this meeting?
No documentation was received.
Special presentations, the Business Advisory Council update. I'll give a brief overview of that, and then Dr. Mike can add anything to that. There was a Business Advisory Council meeting held on Tuesday, October 27th. And the main orders of business presented. There's going to be a junior achievement of North Central Ohio. And it's going to be JA Inspire. It's a virtual career exploration fair that's scheduled for March 10th, 2021. And it can accommodate 10,000 students, and it would give them an opportunity to meet with various businesses and learn about different careers and explore what they may want to plan for their future. And there was also a presentation by Alan Green, who's president of HP Products, as well as Abby Huddleston, who is talent acquisition specialist. And they did a virtual tour of their manufacturing products and talked about careers, jobs, and talent for Pipeline. And that was primarily what was covered. And I would encourage, our Marlington students to attend the virtual career exploration. And I do believe that is in the works. Dr. Mike?
That was a good recap of the county committee. The only thing I would have to add, I did join the Greater Alliance Community Development Group, and I will be going to the first official meeting next week. So I will have a report if we have anything specific on a little bit more local level. So that's all I have to add.
Okay, thank you. And then the 2020 Capital Conference recap. Josh, would you like to start with that?
Yeah, just wanted to thank the district for the opportunity to participate in the Capital Conference. Got to see quite a few different meetings regarding multiple topics. Some of the ones that I attended were engagement, which kind of gave pointers on collaborating with families and the community with the school district. Also, one of the other ones was election 2020 and how that is going to affect the school district. Basically, what they went over there was that they saw the election results in Ohio were similar this year for our state offices as they were in the past 4 years ago. So they don't predict too much is going to change on that front. Another one was school safety grants. Just safety grants, there's 3 of them available through the Bureau of Workers' Comp. for improvements to safety and security. And also one of the other ones was regarding privacy and security challenges with remote learning. And I believe some of that dealt with HIPAA laws and in regards to that. But I also plan on attending virtual conference. They're allowing us access. Is that to the end of this month or next month?
The end of December.
December. So next month, I plan on attending other topics as well. Videos, they have them recorded so we can watch them. I plan on watching quite a few others.
Thank you. And I want to thank the district as well. I also had the opportunity to attend several sessions at Capitol Conference. I started out on October 29th and attended the delegate assembly. And then during Capitol Conference, I attended the following sessions. One was entitled, Thanks for the Memories, 2020 Legal Lessons Learned. I sat in with the Connect with the OSBA Northeast region. They had a chat and overview of their accomplishments for the year. Another session was Positively Impact Learning Through Sustainable Change, linking students to career pathways. I also sat in on the election 2020, what is next and what does it mean for Ohio Public Schools? Financial and operational insight for today's district leaders. Fall in line with Title 20, the role of legal, or Title 10, the role of legal counsel. Top 5 questions with OSBA's CEO. Boardsmanship, which covered the importance of following Robert's Rules of Order and leadership in your board meetings. Role representation in school-based research, and OSBA's revised recognition program. And I too plan to attend some more sessions that will be available through the end of December. Did anyone else have the opportunity to attend any, either during conference or afterward? Okay. The next item on the agenda is video recognition of October Students of the Month. Dr. Mike?
Okay, good evening, everybody. We decided, since I kind of did some mishaps on the first month when we recognized students and they didn't get a video, that we would take the opportunity tonight to recognize those students. So Ben, if you would help us with these videos, we will take it away from here.
Looks like he's having some issues with the audio.
Yeah, I am. Can we pick this up a little bit later in the agenda? Let me sort out what's going on here.
Yes. If you want to let us know when that's available, just
I will. Yep.
let us know and we'll get that added in.
All right.
Old business discussion of facilities upgrades. Dr. Mike, if you would want to start this off.
Okay, everyone. I didn't know, first of all, if anyone had any questions yet left over for Will from Plug Smart about what we've been talking about in the way of remodeling of Lexington and Washington. So Will has graciously hopped on our board meeting again. And Will, did you want to say anything before we start?
No, I think you really touched on it. I think at this point, I know we did a deeper dive into the abatement needs at the building and a couple of other items, some electrical upgrades that you had asked for, Mike. So all that stuff, I think, has pretty much been wrapped up. Sent that data over to you. So I think really it's just if anyone has any other questions or any other clarifications at this point.
Had you guys gotten a chance to look at the option for demoing the chimney at Lexington?
We have not yet. From our scope of work, it's one of those project details where it's not necessarily in our wheelhouse, doing the demo work, and so I didn't want to necessarily go into that and provide maybe false numbers or bad numbers. Certainly, I think it's something that pretty quickly there's a couple of different demo companies out there that we could reach out to provide a quote. Actually, you might even know of some, Josh, from your experience in other projects and your other business by chance.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to know, as it's going to coincide with the roofing portion of the project.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you had mentioned there was electrical upgrades added to the project. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, so there was actually an electrical issue I know that Dr. Mike had reached out on at, I believe it was Washington. Yeah. That's the building that we had it at, where we had one of our electricians go over and look at it. And just by touching the electric box, it actually killed the whole building. So fortunately, our budgets that we had carried for the original project actually can cover all the costs that we had for the minor upgrades needed at that building. It's pretty much just a new panel, the main panel. We were already, with the air conditioning, going to be doing a number of sub panels added to the building. The only one that was a question mark that I'd mentioned to Dr. Mike is, as we had talked about early on, for service upgrade. In the event a service upgrade is needed at those buildings, let's say from First Energy or from AEP, oftentimes we've seen the investor-owned utilities comp that upgrade. They won't charge the district, but we said as a worst case scenario, I gave him some budgetary numbers to carry as a worst case scenario. But in the event, like I said, I would expect that hopefully we can get those covered.
And those costs wouldn't be known until you actually encountered that situation. Is that right?
So we actually, the cost for doing the panels is all actually was covered within our budgets. If the utility did decide to charge for the upgrade service, we've seen that in the range of anywhere from maybe 12 to 20,000 per building.
Okay.
And what steps would we need to take to find out whether they would charge or comp that service?
It would end up being at the point that we go to do the upgrade. And I don't believe Washington requires a service upgrade in our calculations, but when we do final engineering, I know Lexington is one that probably will need the upgrade. And when we reach out to First Energy or to, I think that's First Energy building, but if we reach out at that point is when they'd inform us if there would be a charge or not. Fortunately, since we're adding load, that's a lot of times where the investor-owned utility won't charge, because we're not just replacing existing load, we're adding air conditioning. And so they're going to get the long-term client obviously using that extra load. So that's where we can kind of coordinate with them. But asking in advance without engineering drawings and things like that, they typically won't provide us an answer.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else for Will?
Just the estimates that you had given us before, those are still the estimates we're working on. Is that correct? Working from?
Yeah, the pricing and everything. Correct. Yeah,
Yes.
the only thing that changed was I know the asbestos number we estimated early on was much, much higher, much more conservative. And after we did an investigation on those roofs, those numbers came back much less.
Okay.
But yeah, as far as our scope of work, our prices haven't changed.
Okay. Thank you.
So Will, if you want to stay on, we're going to talk a little bit more. I mean, it's a public meeting. You're more than welcome. But so I guess what I would say to the board right now, we're at a point, the way I see this, and if you see it differently, you let me know. We can do one of three things. We can do the lease purchase and fix both, remodel both in the summer. Or we can not take the lease purchase and see if we can work a deal with our pipeline money to do one or the other, knowing it would probably take a couple of years then to be able to do the other. Or we can do neither. So I don't see any other than one of those three choices. And I'm not asking you to make a decision tonight, but I think by our December 3rd, in fairness to Plug Smart, we need to pretty much have a decision so that they can, it's going to take us some time to work with the bank, excuse me, and the financial person that we talked about. Patty and I have reached out to him. So it will take a little time to do some figures. If indeed the board does choose to do the lease purchase. But at least once you commit, then Will and his folks at Plug Smart will have a better idea then. At least we'll have a board resolution.
And Dr. Mike, did you just want to go over what you view as the advantages of doing the lease purchase in both elementaries next summer?
So I think the advantage, excuse me, is still it will be a little bit more cost effective to do the two buildings at once. We've got the crews on site. We're ordering double in some cases of what we would be ordering if we just did one. It's hard to put an exact number on that. But right now, we're in a good spot to do that as far as getting, hiring the crews. Interest rates are incredibly low because anything can happen with the economy. And then another piece of it is just I hate to call it mental piece of it, but the comfort in knowing, okay, we're investing in both of these buildings at the same time. Because again, if we only do one, different things could happen, between now and when we do the other. So I think I think those are probably the biggest advantages.
What do you estimate the savings on repairs would be by getting the two repaired and overhauled?
I haven't done any figures on that. Obviously, we would reap that reward. There wouldn't be as many repairs. I think that Will brought up a good point, and I don't want to, sugarcoat anything. There will be some cost savings. I've been part of electrical upgrades, and if you've done any of that in your home, there's a possibility for cost saving. But we are adding air conditioning, and that will increase some energy costs. So, but that will come with the remodeling.
Well, Dr. Mike, when we went over the pricing and the cost to operate the newer equipment, in fact, our older equipment is so inefficient that the net cost isn't, I think in one of the buildings is actually less and the other might be slightly more than what it currently is. So there's not going to be a whole lot of additional operational costs to the district adding the air conditioning.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because when we replace the heating part of the HVAC, there will be a big savings in that, because obviously things are much more friendly now than they were in the 50s as far as using energy and heat, gas. And Josh, I can tell you from a project I did at Northwest, we added air conditioning, but new, heating it did pretty much balance out, if I remember that correctly.
Although our electric bill more expensive, but you have to compare that to the savings on the gas bill.
Correct. That's correct.
One other thing we might want to look at too is downgrading our gas services to the buildings. Will, do you know if there's a cost associated with the meters to the buildings?
I can ask that. A lot of times, when it's dealing with the meters, a lot of times, again, we can work with, your provider and find out if that's something we can do. But there's a couple of contacts we have that I can have my project managers ask about doing exactly that, because that is a good point. You're going to significantly reduce it when we go to these heat pump style units that we have in the building.
And I believe they charge us a monthly fee based off the size of the meter, correct?
I believe so, yes. So I have some contacts I can reach out to get that answer pretty quickly.
I'd appreciate that. And we need to look into that as well for the water service coming from the city, currently supplying the high school and middle school. I do believe it's significantly oversized, and we might be losing out on money having that oversized as well.
I might add, we need to check if the high school, middle school, and stadium each have their own meter. It does indeed cost you more. Each meter costs. There's a cost in putting those three together, but in the long run, then the savings are realized fairly rapidly. Obviously, I don't think we could do that with the three elementaries, but First Energy has been great in my experience to work with, so we'll get some information.
Okay.
Anyone else want to weigh in, ask anything that I can answer about the lease purchase, or what might happen if we don't do both? Anything that's on your mind?
I still think we should go forward with the 10-year option with no prepayment penalty and leverage as much of the Nexus money towards that as possible, at least in the beginning, to pay down the principal and have less interest.
I definitely agree with that, especially on the less interest part. And I just think it's really important for our students to have the same great, buildings to be able to learn in and great learning environments, and for our staff to have that as well. I would rather see both schools get done in an efficient manner this coming school year so we can open back up with having all of our 3 elementary schools ready to go.
Dr. Mike, were you able to get talk to the financial person and get us some comparisons, or is that going to be coming at the next meeting?
So the financial guy that we talked about last time, I think what he's saying is he needs us to kind of commit and then know what he's working with, and then he could give you all kinds of scenarios. So Patty and I have reached out to him, but we're waiting, he's waiting on more from us and we're waiting on some things from him.
Okay, so I guess I wouldn't mind at least looking at the 7-year option with no prepayment and compare that to the 10, but with the intention of paying it off as the Nexus money comes in, get it paid down as quickly as possible so that we don't accrue any unnecessary interest expense on that. And, I agree that for our students and our staff, doing both the elementaries together would be the best educationally. So Dr. Mike, you're thinking then at the next regular meeting that the decision will be made at that meeting?
I would like that to happen unless there's, just a bulk of information you don't have. we did tell Plug Smart we would try to make the decision end of November, early December. I'm not rushing you at all. And, Will tell you he's worked on many projects, if it takes us one more board meeting, but it would be nice to have some direction after our next meeting.
I would agree. I think, particularly if we're going the route of doing 2 buildings, I think, in fairness to Plug Smart, they're going to need to get more contractors in place and more supplies ordered. I think we should give the project enough time to get completed without a big rush.
How about if I ask the financial person that we were talking about to take the 10-year I always have a hard time with this word, amortization schedule, and the 7-year, and then we'll discuss some scenarios with him so that,
Okay.
at least, we can discuss some of that. He's got a little bit more to work with then.
Yeah, on that
Right.
one, could you specifically get him to, let us see what the difference would be if we applied the Nexus payments as they came in to that and see what the difference is in interest?
Yep. So, theoretically, we could make at least double if everything goes correctly. We could make, double payments, double and a half. I'll have him run some scenarios about that.
And a question I would have on that is, I'm assuming that Plug Smart will not need all their funds up front. I think that was like a scheduled payment over the time of the construction. So it would almost seem we wouldn't need to borrow that money all up front. So is that money borrowed gradually throughout their project so that we don't have that full amount up front that we're paying interest on?
I don't think so. I think it's a bulk borrow. I think that's what Becky Princehorn was saying. She talked a little bit about where that money goes, how that money is held, those types of things. Until
But then if we could immediately pay down the March payment.
The other thing I need to ask Marvin, who's the financial guy, is are we, some of you have experience with paying 2 house payments a month. Can we make a payment every month? I don't know. I haven't talked to Patty about this part. Quarterly, what's the expectation? I think the bank will work with us a little bit on that. So those are the scenarios that we have to get him to work out.
I guess an additional scenario then for me would be, if we're going to use the Nexus money to pay for that, could we align that when those payments are received? So for example, 2 payments a year when that payment's in, because we don't want to be using the operating funds to pay for the project.
I think the banks will probably let you set the date, that you want to pay. It doesn't have to be a first of the month or a 15 or a certain month. I'm pretty sure they'll work with you on that.
Okay.
And this loan's actually what it's so far is yearly payments, like once a year, correct?
That I'm not sure. Patty, do you know that?
That's how the education schedule broke down.
Yes, we have once a year. We have one that is twice a year.
And can we figure out how they calculate the interest, if it's yearly, monthly, daily? So
I don't want to say. We'll ask. Probably daily, but we'll ask.
I'm hoping it's daily, but I just want to clear that up because making the payment and accruing the interest can be significant. So okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Okay.
Does anyone else have any other questions for Dr. Mike or Will on the project?
Okay.
Right.
I think Ben may be ready with our videos.
Thanks, everybody.
I'm gonna give
Thanks,
this.
Will.
Thanks,
I
Will.
will.
Hello, I'm proud to be Brendan Hamilton, Alliance Elks Lodge 467 Teenager of the Month. Non-nominees are judged on character, leadership, community and school service, citizenship, and academics. Brendan is the son of Kurt and Gina Hamilton. His activities and achievements include he's a football player for Marlington High School. He's a state qualifier wrestler coming back for us this year. And of course, he is a track competitor also. In 2020, he was captain of the Marlington football team. He's the news anchor on the Marlington Morning News Show, and he is a member of the Samurai Wrestling Club. Some of Brendan's hobbies and interests and future plans include weightlifting, video games, and cliff jumping. He plans to attend Lake Erie College, where just today he signed his national letter of intent for his scholarship for Division II Lake Erie Storm. He will continue his academic and wrestling career there. Brendan, on behalf of Marlington High School and administration, I'd like to congratulate you on this achievement and tell you how proud I am of you. Hello, I'm joined here with Ella Deepold. Ella is the Elks Lodge 467 Teenager of the Month. Ella, this award goes to you based on your character, leadership, community and school service, citizenship, and academics. Ella is the daughter of Maria and Dax Deepold. Activities and achievements include character counts and National Honor Society, Spanish National Honor Society, Yearbook Club. She's a 4-year letter winner for Marlington tennis team, the tennis team captain, 3-year academic letter winner, team court, 2019 Homecoming Duchess, Lane Crew, and Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Her hobbies and interests and future plans include playing tennis, painting, drawing, reading, and volunteering at Regina Jolie. Ella plans on attending college after high school and hopes to major in art or psychology. Ella, on behalf of Marlington High School administration and staff, it is my pleasure to recognize you today as the Alliance Elks Lodge Teenager of the Month.
Hey, I'm Nick Evanich, middle school principal, and I have the opportunity today to honor our October Students of the Month. And we start with grader Madeline Bailey. Madeline is the daughter of Jared and Melinda Bailey. Her favorite subject is math. She plays travel softball for Velocity and play for the Dukes in high school. Madeline is a member of the St. Paul's Church and participates in St. Paul's Youth Group. In her spare time, she enjoys creating, painting, and selling crafts. Here's what Madeline's teachers had to say about her. Madeline is very responsible and a hard worker. She works diligently in class, on task, and is eager to participate during lessons. She's also very busy outside of school, but does an outstanding job of keeping up on her school. Madeline is a hard worker with a pleasant personality. Congratulations, Madeline, and keep up the great work. Back with our other student of the month, Jacob is an 8th grader. He is the son of Rich and Carla Dine. His favorite classes are Spanish and Gateway to Technology. GTT is fun for Jacob because he enjoys making things and learning how devices work. Jacob really enjoys being at school with his friends and being part of the MMS game. Outside of school, he enjoys gaming and reading novels. Jacob's teachers had this to say about him. Jacob volunteers for everything. He brings life, smiles, and humor to the classroom. Jacob is lighthearted and always brings a smile to others' faces. He works hard and strives to do his best every day in class. Jacob is very bright and has a great sense of humor. He views life from an original perspective and understands content at a deep level. He is friendly and helpful to classmates. Great job, Jacob. Congratulations and keep up the good work. Good job, buddy.
Good evening. We are here today to celebrate Lexington's October Kiwanis Student of the Month. Our Student of the Month winner was Isaac Russo. Isaac was chosen for Kiwanis Student of the Month because he has a positive attitude toward learning. He puts incredible effort into all of his schoolwork. Isaac also sets a positive example for all students at Lexington, making good choices each day. He served as a flag raiser and lowerer each school day during our first quarter, demonstrating that he is also a responsible student. Thank you for always doing your best, Isaac, and today we celebrate you. We're going to air high five. Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Good evening, Marlington community. Welcome. My name is Mrs. Moore, and I am here to introduce to you the Marlboro Elementary Kiwanis Student of the Month, Michael Long. A little bit about Michael. Michael was selected as our Kiwanis Student of the Month due to his ability to use good manners, keep on task, and bring a positive attitude to the classroom. Michael is quick-witted and open-minded. These two phrases describe Michael both inside and outside of the classroom. He has shown these characteristics through positive interactions with his classmates and teachers throughout the start of the school year. He helps create an excellent atmosphere for learning. Marlboro Elementary is very proud of this Duke. A few more things about Michael. His favorite subject in school is math. Some things about his family. They have a tree-walking coonhound named Levi, a bloodhound named Hank, and 14 chickens. Okay? And he likes to go hiking and fishing with his family. Something that he wants to do in the future, when he gets older, he wants to become a heavy equipment mechanic. And he would also like to travel to California and Germany. One more neat thing about Michael is he likes to play football and soccer. And his favorite thing to do in his free time is to fish. Michael, we're very, very proud of you. Honored to have you at Marlboro Elementary.
Hi there. I am standing here with Sammy Valverde, our October Kiwanis Student of the Month. And here's what Sammy's teacher had to say about him. She said that Sammy Valverde is the Kiwanis Student of the Month for October, and even in the first couple of weeks of school, Sammy set himself apart from his peers with his work ethic, kindness, and determination. No matter what the task may be, Sammy will give his all and complete the task to the best of his ability. Sammy's personality and spirit makes the classroom a more beautiful and joyful place every day. We are so very proud of you, Sammy. Continue the hard work and set a positive example in class. You shine among your peers. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations to all of our students. That was wonderful to hear all your accomplishments.
Congratulations.
Moving
Congratulations.
on,
Thank you for doing all that. That was awesome to see. Thank you for all the effort that went into get that presentation up and rolling for our October students as well.
Hey, no problem. I got caught in my own net there with the audio being muted when I connected the other machine. So there you go. It gets me too.
That's
Oh,
okay.
thanks,
though. We
Ben.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, moving on with old business, new revised deleted board policies. Is there a motion to approve the second reading and adoption of board policy 2431 interscholastic athletics?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Dr. Main, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gabrick,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphries,
Yes.
Dr. Mason,
Yes.
Mrs. Stevens,
Yes.
approved 5-0.
Public speaks discussion.
I know at the last meeting, we talked about, I think Dr. Mason brought it up. And then actually Josh said that maybe there are asked for a resolution to address the item at the next board meeting. I know that you've had a lot to do, Dr. Schruffler, so I'm not sure that you've had the opportunity to do that. But you were going to explore and report details to the board about possibilities.
Well, I'm not 100% sure, but we did pass a new public participation policy on September 3rd, 2020. And I guess I'd be open. I'm not 100% sure what anyone wants to change on that.
Well, currently we're following the public participation that was recommended for the virtual meetings.
Correct.
And the other public participation is for regular and in-person meetings.
Do we want to change the public participation for virtual meetings?
I think Karen wants is hybrid of the two, correct?
Yeah, it would be great. I like those presentations we just saw with the students. I wonder if there wouldn't be a possibility of that type of thing. That would be some coordinating with schedules and things, but maybe if someone wants to do a public speech, they could come and be videoed like that, and then it could be played. Or if there was a format that Ben knew would be appropriate, maybe they could film themselves and submit it. I know there's all kinds of interactions or things that we could do, or if we could provide another room, or however you call it, when you have a meeting like this, where someone could be invited in and then they could, be brought in at that time and speak. I think there's a couple of different things we could use technology for. Were you thinking something in particular, Scott?
No, any of those are fine. I mean, it just the idea of sending something in and then having it not be read isn't attractive to anyone in the community, since we've never had anybody do it. So
I'd just like to clarify on that. When the public participation documents are sent in, I have read all of them and corresponded back with each of the individuals that wrote in. So all the board members they're submitted with the expectation that each board member does in fact read those, Scott.
that's a letter to the board member. That's not public.
They're attached to the minutes, so then they become a part of the public record.
And everybody in the community reads the minutes. Caroline, it's different if somebody speaks and is in the meeting and says it versus something that's written and read. Even if it's read aloud, it's still not the same. We're not reinventing the wheel here. We're not doing anything we don't already do. Will was just in this meeting. I mean, we can invite somebody who wants to come in and speak, and they can be in a separate room. Ben can bring them in when it's their time. If they're inappropriate, it's just the same as any other time. They can be cut off. Their time can be cut off. That's all controlled, or we can ask for the taped portion to be put in. I don't think it matters.
Well, my only concern with someone coming into the school buildings is we are currently limiting visitors in the building. And I would prefer people to submit videos or attend in a similar manner that we are, if possible, remotely.
I agree with that as well. I'd rather keep the visitors at length while they're coming into the school, but if we can do something and it's not too much on Ben to figure that out, where it can be a virtual That way we just limit the amount of people that are in and out of the school. And plus I feel like that limits the amount of sanitizing that would need to be done once that person leaves.
Yeah.
So is there any other discussion?
Just what will it take to implement this? Do we change the policy?
Our policy that's in place is for in-person board meetings. There would need to be I believe that we're currently following a resolution for the public participation that we're doing now. So I would expect there would need to be a new resolution, but if it's going to be in person or video, or however it is, it would need to follow our policy. So the resolution would need to include a copy of our policy with that.
Could we try having a virtual room then and letting people in? To me, that seems like the easier route than to try to load videos.
The way that we are currently doing the meeting with Google Meet, Google Meet doesn't really have the room concept like you would be familiar with on Zoom or some of the other platforms. The video option is really, aside from my little issue there tonight, really isn't that bad. The key would just be making sure that we get the video in a format that we can play. And the best way to handle that, I think, would just be making sure that there's a clear cutoff, the Sunday prior to the meeting, to give us time to verify that everything's going to work.
Dr. Mike, do you want to work on that resolution then and figure out how that you're going to incorporate board policy into that and
Yes. Okay.
work with them?
Sure, I can do that. Then we'll have a resolution for the next board meeting if that's okay. And obviously, I'll get that out to all of you before, well before the board meeting.
Thanks.
New business, approval of the updated athletic handbook. Is there a motion to approve the updated athletic handbook as presented and marked exhibit AAAA?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Dr. Mike, did you want to give a brief overview of what the changes are?
Those are actually the same. One's for policy and one's for the handbook. And that's where we are requiring the student, we had to assign an actual grade point average for our student athletes. So we have that number in there, but from what I understand, we very, very rarely have a student that has that low as a 1.5 grade point.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Carolyn? Or
Yes.
Mrs. Gabrick, sorry.
That's fine.
Mr. Hagan?
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Humphries?
Yes.
Dr. Mason?
Yes.
Ms. Stevens?
Yes.
Approved, 5-0.
Is there a motion to approve the revision of the 2021 school calendar as presented and marked exhibit BBBB?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Dr. Mike, could you just give a brief overview of the changes?
Sure. So the first part involves putting some distance between Thanksgiving Day and people coming back to school. So the Monday after Thanksgiving, the 30th of November, is actually a date the board needs to approve a change. That would become a professional development day for our teachers, and our students would be basically off that day. So the students will be at home that day. And then December 1st will be a virtual learning day. Obviously, I'm going to fill the board in. We don't have to have board action on that because it's in our virtual learning, our pandemic plan. But the first then would be a virtual learning day. All staff will report to work to their buildings, to their garage or kitchen, and teachers will be teaching, as directed by their principal. Then it's kind of a little bit of backwards of that as we approach Christmas or the holidays in December. I'm going to be honest. I'm hoping that we are able to go to school in person until the 18th. There have been rapid changes in COVID even today as I met with the health department, with the other superintendents. But for now, we felt it best to take the 21st and 22nd of December. Those will be virtual learning days. So again, students would be learning virtually from home. And then teachers, all staff will report. And then the December 23rd, teachers will have a professional development day. So students will be off that day. So that requires board action.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Gabrick,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphries,
Yes.
Dr. Mason,
Yes.
Mrs. Stevens,
Yes.
approved 5-0.
Twenty 21-22 school calendar public hearing. Dr. Scheffler.
Yep. So it's kind of interesting that we're talking about the 21-22 school year, but let's all hope in some regards it's a better school year than this one as far as the pandemic goes. But the first step to the new calendar is for me to announce that as a district admin team, we are working on that calendar. And then as the weeks go, we will have the process where the board gets to view that. I believe at Marlington, our union and staff get to view that. And then eventually we'll have an official hearing before a board meeting where anyone can speak about the calendar that's proposed. And then I will ask the board to adopt. It would be probably be nice to do that at our second December meeting. We don't have to. We can do that at our organizational meeting in January, first meeting in January, around that time.
Dr. Mike, if I could real quick, it just came to mind from the previous updates to the calendar for this year. For those virtual learning days, are the teachers going to be in school?
They will. They will be in their building. All staff will be at their regular building or garage and the teachers will be teaching. They can be creative with that, but they'll be at their buildings.
Okay. Has there been any conversation with the teachers regarding ones that have their own children in the district and are going to be at school working while their kids are at home?
We have kicked off some conversation on that. I can tell you our colleagues in other districts, other superintendents are not letting teachers bring their students, but we do need to have their own children, but we need to have some discussion on that.
Okay.
Are there any other questions on the calendar? Superintendent's agreement. Is there a motion to approve the superintendent's agreement between the Lake Local School District and Marlington Local School District for 2 senior students for the remainder of the 2021 school year on a non-tuition basis?
So move.
Second,
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Gabrick,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
yes.
Mrs. Humphries,
Yes.
Dr. Mason,
Yes.
Mrs. Stevens,
Yes.
approved 5-0.
Dr. Mike, how do you want the next motion handled?
I have to apologize. I should have brought that up to pull that off during additions and deletions.
Okay,
Um,
then is there a motion to table the resolution to approve a contingency fee agreement and authorize litigation as presented and marked exhibit CC?
So move.
Second,
Is there any discussion? I believe this will be presented at the next board meeting.
It will, and I want folks to know this is nothing being brought against Marlington, or this is a statewide or possibly even a national effort about to make some corrections or go after vaping companies. So we'll in public, we'll update next board meeting what we're allowed to say in a public session.
Dr. Bain, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gabrick,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
yes.
Mrs. Humphries,
Yes.
Dr. Mason,
Yes.
Mrs. Stevens,
Yes.
motion tabled 5-0.
Is there a motion to approve the amendment to the McGowan and Markling engagement letter?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I just want to mention, the only thing changed is that I'm asking for monthly billing. I think that's a reasonable thing. I checked with the Ohio School Board Association, an attorney with the Ohio School Board Association to get input, and she stated that it is, quote, entirely reasonable for a school board to ask for consistent billing from an attorney. I want to keep a better track of things. You know, we're talking about a lot of financial issues, and it just makes sense to me to have a better understanding of what's going out. Every bit matters, every amount matters. So that's why I asked that this be approved.
Who is the author of this amendment?
I wrote it. I just followed along with Mr. Markling's engagement letter, and then the signatures as they appeared on the engagement letter.
And have you reviewed all the vendor contracts so that we're consistent in treating all of our vendors the same?
I'm concerned because this is an additional cost that we used to have regularly or billed regularly. Since we pay the money to the ESC, I explain this a lot, and I think it's understood. They were costs that were routinely covered when Mrs. Slick gave us her services through the ESC. And it's concerning because we're not getting regular bills. His contract states that they will be monthly or quarterly, but it's not followed that. And I think it's hard to, human error adds up. I mean, when long periods of time are taken, it's hard to keep track of what time was really put into something. It's just it's an accounting thing that I think is, as the attorney stated, entirely reasonable. And if there's other concerns for other things, if there are concerns for other things that Dr. Patty has or anybody else, then sure, they should tell the vendor that they want regular billing. But we have the capacity to ask for this, and it's reasonable.
Karen, that wasn't the question. The question is, have you reviewed all the vendor contracts so that we're treating all the vendors the same? Or are we singling out Markling?
If that's your concern, Carolyn, then that's your concern. We can go ahead and you can tell the community, or the community will see your position on this. That's fine. We can take a vote. No, I have not done that. This is my concern for a purpose. I just told you why. It's additional cost that we are paying. I'm not aware
Well,
of.
we're currently following his contract. We're currently following his contract as it is. I'm very concerned that you want to bill monthly beginning June 15th, which is long past. So I don't even see how this could be put in place. Have you discussed this with Attorney Markling?
I have not.
Have you consulted with any attorney regarding the legality of passing a resolution to retroactively change a contract, letter of engagement of a contract that we already are part of?
It would be legal if we both agree to it. It's all about agreement. If we agree to this and he agrees to it, it can be put in place.
We can't agree to bill.
Excuse me. Do you want to start from now and move forward? Josh, is that what you're proposing?
What's that?
Would you like to start from now and move forward?
Regarding your amendment?
Regarding the date that we start. You're talking about it going back to June 15th.
I wasn't questioning the date. I was questioning the act of the board passing a resolution to retroactively change the letter of engagement to a contract that we are already a part of.
I don't have a resolution at this point. We have the contract. It would have to be signed by Attorney Markling and by Carolyn as board president, Dr. Main as treasurer, and Dr. Schreffler. And then if that was agreed upon, it would have a board resolution number.
I'm not in favor of approving the amendment unilaterally as the board, particularly since you haven't even reached out to discuss this with Attorney Markling.
I feel that there would have to be other research involved too with the other vendors. I mean, we want to make sure that we're not singling out one vendor or the other, and we need to have all of our research put together.
Are there any other questions?
When are we expecting next bill from Attorney Markling?
Attorney Markling is working on that now, and he anticipates having that for the next board meeting, prior to the next board meeting, which would be December 3rd, I believe.
Okay.
So 5.5 months after the last one.
And Karen, you're aware of his extenuating circumstances that I explained to you, and I feel that we as a board can have a little bit of compassion to a person's situation.
That doesn't stop the requirement or his obligation to us.
His obligation is to bill us periodically. That's what his contract says.
Karen, he hasn't broke the contract according to the wording of the contract. So technically he's meeting his obligation. I mean, whether you want it on a monthly basis wasn't in the prior contract. So, you know, if he had extenuating circumstances that prevented him, and I think at one point, wasn't he stranded somewhere because of coronavirus that he?
Yes.
That was the first one. That was the first excuse.
Was it because of the first one?
That was
for the first billing. Yes, that's correct.
Right.
There are more. It's fine. This is showing the community what a priority it is for you really to watch our finances. So that's fine.
Well, I don't think anything's not going to come to light that's in there. We're going to get a bill and it's going to have everything you'd like to see in it. And if anything is questionable, you can question it.
I sure will.
Plus, I just don't think that's a really fair accusation. I mean, obviously, we all care what the community has to say, and we all want to represent well to the district and to our community members. So I don't feel like that's a fair accusation, Karen. I think that's kind of an attack against board members, and I don't think that's a great example either.
I know you always like to lecture me, Danielle. Thank you so much.
I agree. I agree. We should be receiving these bills on a more frequent basis than we have. And that's something I think we should hold him to in the future and get a firm answer as far as, how often we can expect these on a regular basis.
Yes, and he has committed to that we would receive them at least quarterly.
But that's not a regular basis, saying at least quarterly.
Every 3 months is regular if you get them every 3 months.
Was that not regular basis?
Okay, just move on. This is worthless, a worthless conversation right now.
Dr. May, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gabrick,
No.
Mr. Hagan,
No.
Mrs. Humphries,
Yes.
Dr. Mason,
Yes.
Mrs. Stevens,
No.
not approved, 3-2.
Then item G, Marlington in motion, board comments. Dr. Mike, could you just give a brief overview of when you first brought up the idea of having board comments in Marlington in motion, just what your expectations might be for this area of board comments?
Well, my thought was, boards that I've been on, usually at the very end, have sort of an around the horn type thing where each board member can add something, say something, make an announcement. They shouldn't be things that we would vote on. That's where we say, additions or deletions. But just, things. Of course, we want those to be positive, and I understand that won't always be positive. But that was the intention, that everybody would have at least one chance during the meeting to say something if they had to.
Thank you. So any board comments?
I definitely appreciate the staff and their hard work and how they have been dealing with COVID. And I'm thankful that we are able to continue to move forward in some regards, and hopefully that will, the pandemic will end here quickly. I do want to say overall, I still do have concerns regarding the finances at Marlington. And that is going to continue to be my focus, because I'm concerned with, we keep hearing, we need to, well, in fact, Dr. Main's recommendations, because that's her thing, that we're going to need to cut expenses and decrease our expenditures, increase our revenue, or decrease our expenditures. That we need to look at everything, including staff to student ratio, all departments, programming, open enrolled students going out and coming into the district, as well as develop a plan to move forward, because 2023 will come quickly. And it feels to me, with all our meetings, we don't talk about that. We're not talking about that plan, and we just continue to spend money. And that to me is not a good plan.
And Karen, I'd just like being concerned about the school's finances, given the fact that the majority of the board 1 year prior to now was looking at using all of the Nexus money to finance a consolidated elementary school.
That's a nice version, Josh, of something that never happened. That's a nice version to something that never happened. It doesn't. We're here now. I'm in the present now.
Which is why I'm saying I'm thankful that you're concerned with the finances now.
Great.
Thank you.
Great. Great.
Karen, I just want to mention that we're not ignoring the finances. We've actually reached out and Patty is working on that. She has a lot of work to do before she and Dr. Mike are able to make some presentations to the board. And I would like to give them that liberty to work on that and make their recommendations to the board. And it's going to be a process. It isn't anything. We didn't get in this situation overnight. We've been in deficit spending for several years now, at least 5 or 6 years. And we didn't get in that overnight. And this board now has the task to fix it. And I think we're up to the task.
Board it is amazing. You spin a tale. We should just move on as far as I'm concerned.
I thought this was supposed to be like positive commentary, and we're all kind of just fighting again, once again, like children. Well, I think children actually probably have a little bit better manners at this rate in the game. So, I mean, I understand why Dr. Mike put this into our board agendas, and I appreciate it. But at the same time, if we're just picking on each other and other board members, then that doesn't really solve anything to begin with. It was supposed to be something that was positive. So I guess I just want to take that time to thank the staff and to thank all of our students and to congratulate the students once again on their achievements. And thank you, Ben, and all of our technology support staff that made all that possible tonight.
I again want to thank Dr. Mike for compiling that great list of accomplishments for our staff and our students and getting that out to the board members. And I believe that also went out to the staff. And just want to acknowledge all of our staff and students and everything they've done, as well as having to cope in these times of the pandemic. Moving to the treasurer's agenda, Dr. Main.
Thank you. The first motion is to approve the prior special and regular meeting of November 5th, as well as the regular meeting of October 15th minutes.
So
Is there a
moved.
motion to approve the treasurer's recommendation to approve the minutes as she presented?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Gabrick,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphries? Yes. Dr. Mason,
Yes.
Mrs. Stevens,
Yes.
approved, 5-0. The next is our financial reports for the month. We have 2 exhibits. The first one is our check pay. If you notice on our check pay, we have some Marlboro project pieces. In the middle of the first page, the environmental support for $6,710. The Plug Smart for $303,000. On the next page, we had some asbestos from the roof for $23,000. And those were just finishing up. They were reported to you in the final project totals, but of course, they're just now coming up in these check pays for this month. Additionally, on the first page, you'll see that we have an Apple. That was Apple TV. Those were some of our funds for our teachers to do some better remote teaching, and also for the classroom, as well as we have some Lake Tech upgrades, which are helping with our internet. Those are connection points. And that's on the second page for $88,000. That was also some of our COVID funds. And then we have later on some other Apple products And I believe those are the only ones that really we need to highlight tonight, unless you have some additional questions. The second is our cash report. And again, this just shows where we began as well as where we ended for this month.
Is there a motion to approve the treasurer's recommendation for the financial reports and overview of receipts and expenditures as presented?
Second.
Are there any questions or discussion?
The total down at the bottom then is we were at 8.7 million. We're now at 6.0 million. Is that?
Let me pull that up. I believe.
I mean,
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm looking at it. That's what it says.
I believe that's with future encumbrances.
Yes, that's with future encumbrances. You want to look at the beginning balance in the first column. And then
Current fund.
again, and then your second and your fourth are your month-to-date receipts and expenditures. Your third and your fifth column is your receipts and your expenditures from year-to-date.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And the current fund balance is the next column.
So the current fund balance is actually higher than the beginning balance.
By
And then
600.
you have future encumbrances that will be deducted once those bills are received or when they're due. Is that correct?
Correct.
And that doesn't
And
take, that number, just to clarify, doesn't take into account future revenue between the time when we make that payment, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Gabrick,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphries,
Yes.
Dr. Mason,
Abstain.
Mrs. Stevens.
Yes.
Approved 4-1. And the last one is just a revision to our revenues. Now that we have a better idea of our foundation as well as our 5-year forecast, we just have a revenue revision in that 11-19 column.
Is there a motion to approve the treasurer's recommendation for the revenue revision for November 2020 as presented and marked exhibit EE?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Gabrick,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphries.
Yes.
Dr. Mason,
Abstain.
Mrs. Stevens.
Yes.
Approved 4-0 or 4-1. The last item is the motion to approve some donations made to Marlington. The first one is from Linda Jordan. And the second one is from Science Hill Church. And the third one from Jimmy, Sandy, Joe, and Susie Wittenauer. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Is there a motion to approve the treasurer's recommendation for the donations as presented?
So move.
Second.
Is there any discussion? I wish to thank all of our donors for their generous donations to our Marlington local schools. It's very much appreciated. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Gabrick,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphries,
Yes.
Dr. Mason,
Yes.
Mrs. Stevens,
Yes.
approved 5-0.
Personnel consent agenda, Dr. Mike.
Sorry, I had a little trouble unmuting. Classified employment, we have a classified retirement. Teresa Rohr, middle school custodian, effective June 10th, 2021. I just have to say, I will miss Teresa. She was my buddy over the summer. She made sure I knew my way around the middle school. She checked on me. What a wonderful lady. We will miss her. Recommend a motion to approve a 1-year unpaid leave of absence for Melissa Lanham, bus driver and cafeteria. Classified sub, Kristen Latampa. And then under supplementals, recommend the motion to accept resignation of James Jeffries, head boys tennis coach, immediately. The motion to accept resignation of Michael Rizzoletti for spring strength and conditioning stipend, effective immediately. And then we have a supplemental hire, boys basketball stipend for Clay Liberator to increase from 0.66 to a full stipend. Then we also have pending checks, BCI, FBI, and as they follow all and meet all the requirements. We have our wrestling coaches, Marcus Landon, Eric Gerbach, half-time, and Michael McIntyre, 0.75. And then boys basketball volunteer, Scott Springer.
Is there a motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation for personnel as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Another question I had on supplemental hires, those are just replacements to other positions or those additions to?
Those are replacements. Sometimes people aren't able to keep their commitment, so we have to shuffle things. So they're nothing. We're not adding anything there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Gabrick,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphries,
Yes.
Dr. Mason,
Yes.
Mrs. Stevens,
Yes.
approved 5-0.
Is there a motion to enter into executive session in accordance with ORC 121.22 to discuss the appointment, employment dismissal, and compensation of a public employee, and to discuss matters required to be kept confidential by federal law or regulations or state statutes?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Gabrick,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphries,
Yes.
Dr. Mason,
Yes.
Mrs. Stevens,
Yes.
approved 5-0.
If you can all log out of Google Meets and We're declared out of executive session at 9:03, and we're up to the area of announcements. Dr. Mike?
I just had an announcement for everyone that's listening. Thanks to Dan Swisher, he got some word out for me. We are going to have to close Lexington Elementary tomorrow, and only tomorrow. We are going to need to do some contact tracing because of a staff member that got her positive test today. So we just don't have the staff and the key staff. So Lexington will be closed tomorrow to students and staff. Staff should work from home as much as possible. And I hope it's not too late, but I need to get a word out on a call out as well. Thank you for your patience. For those of you watching, it hasn't been easy making these decisions.
The additional announcements, November 25th through 29th is no school for Thanksgiving break. November 30th and December 1st, no school for students, but it is staff professional development. The next regular board meeting is December 3rd, 2020 at 7:00 p.m. And the following one is December 17th. I do want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and thank everyone for coming to the meeting tonight. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second?
Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ms. Gabrick,
Yes.
Mr. Hagan,
Yes.
Mrs. Humphries,
Yes.
Dr. Mason,
Yes.
Mrs. Stevens.
Yes.
Approved 5-0.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Beck.
Thanks.